Good morning everyone, welcome to the Mono Commute, a series in which I utilize my commute in the car to talk about movies, series or whatever I like. No edits, just me talking while I'm driving. And don't forget, do not text and drive. I don't use a camera with a monitor, I use an action cam so I don't get distracted. With that out of the way, let's talk about the Apple TV series See. I really like the series, no spoilers by the way. I watched all of the 3 seasons, and to give you a quick synopsis about the world of See, because I was actually a little bit mistaken when I saw the pictures and some of the posters, and yeah, I was under the impression that this was somewhere in the Middle Ages, but it is actually in the future. The world has been infected by a virus that made everyone basically blind, and for many years the civilization of the people that were still alive, all of them are blind, and they had to kind of learn and evolve how to deal with that. I believe it is a couple of 100 years after that incident, that infection, that pandemic that made everyone blind. So they kind of forgot about the world how we know it, basically. And so they consider the ability to see somewhat of witchcraft. Therefore, obviously due to evolution and stuff like that, I assume there are people born that are actually able to see, that can use their eyes to the full capacity, basically. And those people are considered witches or witchers and are being hunted. So obviously those people kind of are on a low key, is that how you say it? They hide, basically. Although they are in between blind people, they are obviously overpowered. They are like gods because they can see, of course. They can, they actually say in the series, oh, if you can see, you can basically kill someone without that person even knowing what happened. But these kids basically that can see, that were born with the ability to see, aren't that well equipped, obviously, because the blind people, like our protagonist Jason Mamoa, is so proficient in all of his skills, in sensing danger, in fighting, and so some of the people who are able to see, which in this case usually are kids or youth, around, I would say not older than 18 or something, they obviously have a gift in that scenario. But with someone like Jason Momoa, or the character of Jason Momoa, they not necessarily always in a hand-to-hand combat not necessarily stand a chance. So yeah, the story is that Jason Momoa, the protagonist, I forgot, Baba Voss. His name is Baba Voss. Oh, by the way, the series is very weirdly mixed in terms of sound, and Jason Momoa has a very deep voice. I watch all series, all movies. For those of you who don't know, I'm in Germany. I was born and raised in Germany, so English is my second language. Nevertheless, I watch every movie, every series in English. But Jason Mamoa has a very deep voice, and for some reason the the series is very low mixed, not necessarily in volume, but yeah, in tone, and it is very difficult. It was very difficult for me to understand everything that is being said in the series. So I had to activate subtitles. So I would keep that in mind, that if English is your second language, or if you have trouble maybe understanding the dialogue, especially also the names. Again, Baba Voss is a name that kind of, now that I speak it, it sounds kind of cool, but in the beginning I had difficulties to understand all of the names in the series. So if you watch the series and think like, oh, I don't understand anything, yeah, activate the subtitles. It's not you, it's somewhat the series, I believe. So going back to the story, Baba Voss is a very skilled warrior, very proficient in fighting, very proficient in tactics, and you see it right away in the first scene of the series. And he basically has this partner that is pregnant, and where she supposedly has the child that bring down society, basically, or the kingdom with the queen, because she probably has kids that can see. So the village where Baba Voss and his partner, who he is not the father, by the way, and this is not necessarily spoiler because this is everything that you will get to learn in the first episode. The village basically wants to outcast them, or to bring them to the enemy that is in front of the gates where the first battle occurs. So Baba Voss and the village, or some people of the village who support him and his partner, flee the village. And then we have a couple of time jumps, and the kids grow up, and the whole story surrounds them and those kids being able to see how they hide it and stuff like that. And I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but yeah, that's the story. It is a very cool world that we are experiencing as a viewer, because as I said, I was thinking that this is Middle Ages, but it is actually in the future. And for those of you who don't know, I do like dystopian stories, and I like the idea of everyone being blind and how they evolved and learned how to deal with it. The fight scenes are really cool. They're really brutal. Sometimes they seem slowish, but I feel that considering everyone is blind, I kind of it's still believable. If they are blind and fighting like John Wick, for instance, that would be totally unbelievable. But they are blind, and obviously it's kind of difficult for us to kind of grasp how it is to fight without being able to see. But because it is not as fast, it is still fast, but it's not as fast paced as I said John Wick, for instance, or modern fighting scenes. It is believable that they are blind, so it is enjoyable to watch. If you watched my review of Hogwarts Legacy that you can see in the info tab above, you might remember that I said I don't like when a movie, a series has kids in them. Not because I don't like kids, but because sometimes the kid characters in series and in stories are kind of portrayed as dumb, and not dumb in terms of IQ or something, but they do stupid, childish mistakes. And I feel that yes, kids can make mistakes, and it is totally natural, but kids aren't as dumb as, at least that's what I think. And every time I kind of interact with kids, I treat them as equals, and I don't treat them as if they are like kind of stupid or whatever, or as if they don't know what the world is like. I treat them, I don't talk to them with kid language, but as human beings. So, and then sometimes in stories and movies, they are kind of portrayed dumb and doing stupid mistakes. And the kids in this series of C, they sometimes do stuff where I think that is stupid. I can get it. Maybe you're in puberty, you are, I don't know, emotional or whatever, but it is stupid sometimes. And that kind of pissed me off. Occasionally, not every time, but there are 1 or 2 occasions where I thought that was totally unnecessary. And by just talking maybe one sentence, that issue between brother and sister could potentially have been resolved. But I don't know. It kind of felt stupid. Obviously, if you have siblings, I do too, you argue, you fight. But if it's a life or death situation, I sometimes think that was stupid, that could have been dealt differently. And you just make the story work because you kind of bank on them being kids, and then they make stupid mistakes. And I kind of dislike that in some occasions. But other than that, besides the dialogue being sometimes difficult to understand, the kids sometimes making stupid mistakes, I think the story is very thrilling, very interesting, and the actors are very good. In the first season, you kind of get that some of the actors still need to find their character's place or how they want to play them, because once you see the second season, there will be a shift in some characters where you think like, oh, what happened to you? Not in terms like they changed a lot. One of them changed a lot, I believe, but in the way they actually, it seems they are more comfortable in doing some more stuff. It is kind of jarring going from season 1 to season 2. But it's not that bad. It is, as I said, sometimes brutal, which makes this a very interesting action series, an interesting science fiction series. I know usually we kind of contribute the terminology science fiction with kind of technology, but this has there's no technology basically. It is somewhat in the Middle Ages, but it is still in the future. Therefore, I kind of consider it science fiction and not fantasy, for instance. But it is a very cool series with a very interesting world that they live in, with good characters that do have depth in them, with villain or antagonists that you kind of understand. Sometimes they seem a little bit crazy, but you do understand where they're coming from. There is somewhat of a change in one character that I don't personally like a lot. It is kind of annoying, or it makes you angry. You know, if you've seen my Breaking Bad review that you can see here in the info tab above, you know the character of Skylar, where I said in the review that she kind of pissed me off most of the time in the series. However, that made the series very interesting, very catchy. You need conflict in every story to make it more interesting. And in this story, there is one protagonist that kind of switches to. So if you're playing D&D, on one hand, in the beginning, she's kind of like, I would say, good, aligned, and then she becomes a little bit more on the side of good/evil aligned. Yeah, that kind of annoyed me, but yeah, it makes the story more interesting, and there are a couple of plot twists that I didn't foresee. It also made everything interesting. So long story short, the series, very interesting, to repeat myself, because the world is great, the protagonists, the antagonists are very interesting, they play well. Obviously there are one or two characters, like in every story, that kind of annoy me, that kind of piss me off, but that is more or less, yeah, not every story. Breaking Bad, for instance, all of the characters, even though they pissed me off, were great. Skylar pissed me off in Breaking Bad, but she was great. In C, there are characters that piss me off, but yeah, the majority of the people in the series are cool. So C on Apple Plus, Apple TV, sorry, highly recommended. It is one of the series that kind of got me into subscribing to Apple TV. Up to now, I watched most of the series that I wanted to watch. Not sure if I will keep Apple TV. If you have a series that you think I should watch, I started Slow Horses. It was okay. It didn't catch me that much, to be honest. So if you have any other series that you can recommend on Apple TV, let me know. And what are your thoughts about the series C? Also let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and also check out my Instagram main channel and Patreon at You Know the Bow. Stay safe and healthy, everyone, and of course always drive safe. Don't get distracted. Don't use your phone or a camera while you're driving. Again, I don't have a monitor, so I do not get distracted. Thank you very much.